Hey everybody, welcome to our virtual Bible study. And we've been absent for a while from our virtual Bible studies because summer is a really busy time at North Hamilton. So you may remember the announcement we made in the last video that we published that we were getting ready for our summer series. And that is, it's always all the month of June on Tuesdays. And we always do 5 Wednesdays, or 5 Tuesdays, I should say. And if June doesn't have a 5th Tuesday, then we back it up into the very last Tuesday in May. So we have sometimes May and then all of June, the Tuesdays in June for our summer series. So our classes are suspended and we have special speakers come in. We always have a very special theme and there's topics per the speakers. And it's a wonderful thing. We love our summer series. It's just so encouraging. And then right after that, we had, starting in July, we had one of the 2 prayer services that we have during the year where it's just prayers. The congregation, all we do all the evening long is pray, which is a great thing. And then we had one of our regularly scheduled monthly men's devotionals. And then I was gone the next week for polishing the pulpit, which is, for me personally, it's a really encouraging part of what sustains me throughout the year, getting to see friends and hearing great lectures and participating in that. And it's just a wonderful thing. So that gets us up to the middle of July. And then we had Vacation Bible School here at North Hamilton. And that also includes a Wednesday night. So we've had a number of Wednesdays, almost 2 months worth of Wednesdays that we've not been together. And so here we are now back for the first time in a long time. And it happens every year. It's the same every year. The only difference is that this year, for the event that I was a part of, Polishing the Pulpit, we added another Polishing the Pulpit in Branson, Missouri. So that happens in July. And then coming up, we'll have, the regularly scheduled Polishing the Pulpit in Sevierville. And it's just great. It's been a great summer so far with just lots of great preaching and lots of great opportunities and lots of growth for the congregation. It's just been a good time. So we apologize about the delay, but it's been for good reason. So here we are back. Tonight we are looking at lesson number 9 in our study of Wisdom for Life. So we're picking up Wisdom for Life, which is our topical study of the book of Proverbs. Going through Proverbs, looking at various topics and what Solomon has to say about various practical topics that relate to daily living. And tonight we're going to be talking about friendships. What Solomon says in his wisdom, inspired wisdom, regarding friendships. Now, before we do anything, I want to get back to my normal spiel and talk to you about a couple of things we ask for you to do to help us out. We're not monetized. We don't make money off the channel. We would never do that. 1 Corinthians 16, 1 and 2 tells us how the church gets money, and that's through a contribution on the first day of the week, and that's for the work of the church. So this is not monetized. We don't do it for that reason. But we need your help in subscriptions to make us visible and sharing the videos to make us more visible. So if you are on our YouTube channel, please do us a favor. Number 1, give us a thumbs up. And then if you've not done it yet, subscribe to our channel. That means for you, you don't miss content. Every time we post something new, every time we go live, you'll get a notification. You'll never miss content from North Hamilton Church of Christ. And even if you can't get to it right away, it'll be archived. You can go back and you can get right to it. It's going to be a good thing. And subscriptions help us it makes us more visible on YouTube, which is what we want. Then, if you're on Facebook, give us a thumbs up. Let us know you were there, but share the video on your timeline. See, everybody has the chance to do this, right? You share the video, and now it becomes visible to everybody that's on your friends list. Now, you may have mutual friends, right? Between you and someone else, y'all may share some of the same friends. But if you share the video on your timeline, all those people that the other person can't get to, you can get to, and we can make truth known. So help us out. Okay. Friendship. What does Solomon say about friendship? And we go in our live class based on our discussion questions for the class. So that's how we structure our class, and we do it to try to promote in-class discussion. That's a really great thing when everybody's had a chance to look at the notes and we put our heads together, because we always end up with very insightful, studied looks at the subject matter. We can't do that here because it is what it is. This is just me on a video talking, and I don't get the chance to interact, which it would be great if we could do that. So I'm just going to read some of our questions, and then we'll talk about the answers to them from the book of Proverbs. And the first one is more of an introductory question. Number 1, why do you think friendships are so vital to us as individuals? And what do you see as the benefits of friendship? And also, what does God want us to have friendships while here on earth? Is that something God really wants, or is it something that we've just created? So let's talk about it for just a second. If we go back in our Bibles to Genesis chapter 1, and we look at verse 26 and verse 27, the Bible's going to tell us that we are made in the image of God, and we are made like God. Okay, so that means we have to figure out how we're made like God. It's not physically that we're made like God, because God's not a physical being. He's spirit, John 4:23 and 24. Okay, so we're made in the likeness of God, and that can only mean in the likeness of His qualities. Now, it's not that we have divine attributes, that God gives us divine attributes, but it does mean that, like God is an intellectual being, we're made like that. We're made thinkers and decision makers. We're moral beings, and we're spiritual. We have souls, right? So in that way, we're made like God. Now, all of that implies that God created us as social beings. Here's why. He made us intellectual beings, and the only way that we are able to grow intellectually is by expressing ideas and receiving ideas through communication, and then choices, right? We're moral beings, so choices that we make are in relation to the will of God, and they're made in that context, in the context of the will of God, and the world gets to see our choices. And then spiritually, right, our souls, we show God to other people in the way that we do it. So in every single way, we're connected to society in some way, and it's based on the way that we're made. So God created relationships in which we can experience companionship and communication and growth and joy. He gave us the ability to do that. Genesis 2 verse 18, we have an example of that in marriage. But the other way in which we do that, if you choose not to be married, is through friendships in the world, which are inherent within a social and a cultural context. So, for example, if you have a magnet and you run it across metal, it's going to be attracted to it. There's affinity between the two of those. People are naturally drawn to one another. Maybe not everybody has the same level of friendship. Some people can't be friends in life, but you're naturally attracted to other people in this world because of their ideals, or you share values or something. God intends for us to have friendships. And if we're honest, friendships improve our lives in many ways, right? Physically, there are physical benefits to friendship, like the reduction of stress or in the increase in cognitive function. And it really makes you a better person. You can decrease your loneliness. You can increase your fitness. You can decrease your pain levels. You can increase healthy habits through friendships. Physically, they're great for us. Emotionally, they're really good for us because you gain support. You gain satisfaction in life. You have a sense of belonging and purpose. There's self-confidence that comes through friendships. You're able to cope with trauma much easier and loss with friends, and it boosts our happiness. And spiritually, well, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33 tells us evil companions corrupt good manners. And in the opposite of that would also be true, that good companions help us in life, like a Jonathan and David relationship, like best friends, or Saul and Timothy, Paul and Timothy, where they were just best of friends. Mary, Martha, Lazarus were some of the best friends of Jesus when he was upon the earth. Friends are really good for us. So what does Solomon tell us about friendships? So that brings us to number 2. What are some things that we should look for when establishing friendships in this life? What are some things we should look for? Well, here's one. Look at Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20. Proverbs 13, verse 20. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. To walk is to have fellowship with. That's what the word implies here. And Solomon's point is that a wise person is a person who immerses himself or immerses herself in wisdom and everything that's related to it, including the company that we keep. Wise friends, according to this passage, can help us refine our character and make us better. So if I'm looking to strike up a friendship with somebody, I want it to be somebody that's wise, that can make me a better person. I mean, after all, that's what friendships are. A lot of people do it. I was going to say you don't have friends to make you worse, but a lot of people have friends that make them worse in life. Maybe we'll mention that in just a moment. But choose wise friends. That's something to look for when establishing a friendship. In the same chapter, look at verse 14. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to turn one away from the snares of death. The law of the wise would be what they teach, right? These are the words that come out of wise people. And if we find friends in life, and we should look for it, that offer sound advice, it is to us a fountain of life, right? Because they speak from learning and they speak from experience, and it can keep us from, according to this verse, the snares of life. And a good friend might help you avoid financial ruin. And a really good friend might help you spiritually be more faithful to God, or help you obey the gospel. They might help you with the moral choices that you make in life. It's really good to have good friends. Those are some things we should look for. People that offer good advice and people that walk in wisdom. Now, are there traits that we should avoid? Right? Because if you're talking about looking for friends, are there some things that we should not look for in a friend? Well, yeah, Proverbs often mentions some of those things. In Proverbs chapter 1, verses 10 through 19, in that long section in the opening chapter of Proverbs, he talks about people that are scoffers and immoral and troublemakers. And Solomon tells his son, stay away from people like that. In Matthew 7, verses 15 to 20, Jesus tells us, you know people by their fruit. Right? And you can't always know what's going on in a person's mind unless they reveal it, unless they know what's going on. But God always knows. But you can always judge a person's fruit. You can always do that. And know them by their fruits. If somebody is a bad apple, you don't want that person as a friend. And that's not just to young people, even though Solomon's talking to his son here. That's to any of us. Because bad friends are corruptive. They're pervasive. So you want to stay away from that. In Proverbs 20, I'm going to turn to that one. Proverbs 20, verse 19. Here's another trait to stay away from. Proverbs 20, verse 19. He who goes about as a talebearer reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with one who flatters with his lips. So he's talking about a gossip here. If I know that somebody's a gossip, they're a talebearer, I don't want any part of that. They shouldn't be my friend, because it's easy to get caught in the web of gossip and in the web of lies. And you don't want to get caught in that, because it's going to affect you. Your reputation would be just as affected as that person's reputation. It would be tarnished by mere association. You don't want to be around that. If you see that in somebody, you don't want to be their friend. You might try to help that person, but friendship, you might want to save that until they turn from the error of their way. Then in chapter 22, Proverbs 22, here's another one. Proverbs 22, verses 24 and 25 says this. He says, make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man do not go, lest you learn his ways and set a snare for your soul. You probably don't want to look for and find out and seek out and be a friend of somebody who is just irritable and has uncontrolled anger, because you're going to get caught in trouble if that's the case. Eventually, at some point, that unbridled anger is going to get turned on you. But it's the same thing. Your reputation is going to get tarnished and you're not going to be in good shape. But angry, irritable people are always in mischief, because that's what follows an unbridled anger, right? You can be angry and not sin, according to Ephesians. But there are a lot of people that are angry and they sin all the time because they just don't know how to control their anger. That's a person you'd probably want to stay away from. In Proverbs 23, verses 20 and 21, he says this. He says, do not mix with winebibbers or with gluttonous eaters of meat. Gluttons would be the idea. For the drunkards and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe a man with rags. What's he saying here? Well, he's talking about when he says drunks and gluttons, people that are wasteful with their lives. And if you'll stay tuned for the next lesson, we're talking about alcohol in the next lesson. But he's talking about here just generically people that are wasteful. They spend their lives. They live riotously, whether it's to eat or to drink. They don't care about life. They're bad influences. These are people that have terrible real-life collateral damage. And anybody that's a gluttonous man or a winebibber is always going to leave collateral damage everywhere he goes. You don't want to be a friend. That's not what you look for in a friend, according to this proverb. Then Proverbs 25. Proverbs 25, verses 18 and 20. He says this. Verse 18, a man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a club, a sword, or a sharp arrow. Confidence in an unfaithful man in a time of trouble is like a bad tooth and a foot out of joint. What does he mean by that? Well, just like weapons hurt the body, right? And a bad tooth and a foot out of joint are no good to anybody in time of trouble. A person who is a liar is just like that. And if you know somebody who just lies all the time, that's not a quality that you seek out to say, you know what, I'm really attracted to that person as a friend. I want that guy to be my friend. I want that woman to be my friend. You don't want liars as friends. Not only are they going to ruin your reputation, but the odds are good they're going to lie about you as well. And lying is very contagious, right? That's a habit it's easy for people to sort of, it's like osmosis, right? It just sort of bleeds into other people and they get caught up in a web of lies too. But a liar is a destructive force. Don't make friends of liars until they correct. Then you can do it, but not while they're liars. All right, number 3. What does Solomon see as the benefits of having good friends? What does he see as the benefits of having good friends? All right, so let's talk about some of those. Look at Proverbs 17. And if you're thinking in terms of friendship, this might be one of the verses in your mind you're thinking, yeah, I know that passage. I've got a picture of it up on my wall. There's the scripture printed. I've got it printed out. It's a very famous Bible passage. Proverbs 17, verse 17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. You ever heard that one? That's a really good one. There's another one in just a minute we'll read, but this is probably one of the most famous friendship proverbs in the book. He's talking here about how a true friend, a real friend, a quality that they have and that is a benefit to us in friendships is that their love for us is unbreakable and unshakable. It's not going to be done away, not even in adversity. Those types of friends, if I'm reading this passage correctly, and I think here it's not two different ideas, it's the same idea here. When he says there's a friend and a brother, it's the friend who becomes like a brother. Okay, so there are those types of friends who, when you have them, they become more than just friends. They're really family at that point. They're not blood relation, which is why he frames it the way he does in this passage, but they become like brothers and sisters to us. They are our stability. And obviously God is. But in terms of friendship, the real friends that are like brothers to us and like sisters to us, they're our stability in times of adversity. They're there for us. You know, we use that expression. When you're sick, they're there for you. If you're having marital trouble, they're there for you. If you're in financial straits, they got your back. There are friends that will love you at all times because they're best friends and they love the right way. And they're like brothers who are there for us in our adversity. That's what they're born for, to be there for us. Now, Proverbs 18. Here's another passage that you might know very well. Proverbs 18, verse 24. A man who has friends must himself be friendly, right? The knife has two edges to it. You got to do your part. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. That's the same idea back in chapter 17, verse 17, right? To be friendly, it's a mutual obligation. There's mutual respect, there's mutual trust in friendships, those types of friendships. But just like Jonathan and David, Paul and Timothy, and other great friendships of the Bible, true friends are faithful like a brother or like a sister would be faithful to us. And that's what he's talking about here. And then Proverbs 27. Proverbs 27. And isn't that a blessing to have friends who are like that? But it takes work to do it. That's why he says, to have a friend, you got to be a friend. That's what he's talking about in Proverbs 18, verse 24. Proverbs 27, verse 9. Ointment and perfume delight the heart, and the sweetness of a man's friend gives delight by hearty counsel. What's he talking about here? What's the benefit? Well, just like ointment and perfume make everything better, it beautifies the situation. So do friends, and they do it by their conversation. Notice at the end, he gives delight by hearty counsel. It is such a blessing to have friends, and you can just talk to them. You can laugh together. You can bounce ideas off of them, and they're going to shoot it to you straight back. They're going to tell you, that's not great, or that's true, and that's going to be a great idea, but you need people like that in life. You need people who are going to be givers of hearty counsel. That's a benefit in friendship. Then Proverbs chapter 11. Proverbs chapter 11. Look at verse 14 of Proverbs chapter 11. He says, where there is no counsel, the people fail, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And the idea here would be when it says there's safety, it's a word picture. The word there is the word that means like guiding a boat to safety, keeping it out of the rocks. That's what counsel from good friends will do for us. You surround yourself with people who love you. And when I say that, I mean they really love you. They want what's right for you. They're not just virtue signaling flatterers. There are too many of those people in the world. I mean, these are people that they genuinely want the best for you. And they're willing to tell you, even they'll shoot it to you straight, to tell you so you can self-correct because they love you so much. But that's what gets you to safety. And those are benefits that come from having good friends. Now, number 4, what are some things that cause friction in friendships? What are some of those things? Here are some. And I'm going to look at my time real quick. Okay, I'm going to look at a couple of these. I may not be able to turn to them all, but I'm certainly going to say the scriptures. In Proverbs 17 verses 9 and 14, one thing that is sure to cause tension in a relationship is gossip. It'll do that. In Proverbs 17, verse 9, he says, he who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter, that's Bible language for a gossip, separates friends. You want your friendship to last? Better not be gossiping about each other. And sometimes that happens. You repeat everything you hear. And when they do that, if you're a friend of somebody that's a gossip, you're not safe, right? They're gonna gossip about other people behind their back to you, but to those people, they're going to gossip about you behind your back. You're not safe when you do that. And generally, you usually find out after the fact, once the gossip has been spread, my friend said that about me? I can't believe it. And they come to find out it's true. And it creates anger and bitterness and distrust. Better heed Solomon when we do that. Don't do that. That'll destroy friendships. Proverbs 25, verse 17. I'm going to read this one because we don't talk about this too much in friendships, but it is something that causes strife in friendships. Proverbs 25, verse 17. I've thought about this a lot since studying this passage. Listen to verse 17. Seldom set foot in your neighbor's house, right? Don't do it too often. And then he says, lest he become weary of you and hate you. Lest he become weary of you and hate you. What's that saying? It's possible to smother each other in friendships. Be wise. If people need space, give them space. But don't smother someone. Don't take over their life and intrude into their life. They'll let you know when you're supposed to be there, just like you'll let them know when they can be part of yours. But if you give someone no space, eventually they'll take the space away and you won't have any. So don't smother each other in a relationship. In a similar vein, I'll just give you the passage here. Proverbs 26, verse 17, talks about being a meddler and intrusive in another person's in a relationship. Don't do that because you will absolutely destroy a relationship when you meddle and are intrusive. Needlessly provoking, you don't want to do that. Then in Proverbs 26, verses 18 and 19, which we kind of looked at before, I'll just give you the reference here. Proverbs 26, 18 and 19 is talking about liars. And the difference in this passage is, while he's exposing liars, he's talking about how they become indifferent to their lies and to the effects of their lies. If you tell them something about it, they're not really concerned about it. They don't really care. They're just liars. Lying will destroy friendships, as well as Proverbs 26, verse 20, gossip. Gossip will destroy a friendship. So you don't want that, right? When you stir up trouble, when you're constantly trying to provoke people and stir up trouble, why would you do that if you're a friend? You don't want to do that. So there are some things that would cause friction in friendships. Proverbs 26:21 talks about a contentious man, right? These are argumentative, quarrelsome people. You want to destroy a friendship? Be argumentative and quarrelsome. Every time you get together, just argue with a person. They don't want to be your friend for long, I'll guarantee that. And then Proverbs 27:14. I'm going to turn to this one. Proverbs 27, verse 14. Listen carefully. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice. See how he framed that? Rising early in the morning, it will be counted a curse to him. What's he doing? He's a virtue signaler. He's a flatterer. He gets up early in the morning and shouts in the street, "Oh, I love my friend. My friend is great. He is my friend." But he only does it because he's wanting popularity and plaudits from other people for himself. This is a virtue signaler, a person who's a flatterer. You want to destroy friendship, then just use flattery. Because what happens, flattery is a form of lying. What happens in the end is people find out you're a flatterer, a liar, and they won't want to be your friend anymore. Number 5. And I'm sorry, we're going quick. It's a lot to cover, but we're going to get it in one lesson. Number 5, what advice does Solomon give that can help mend troubled friendships? What does Solomon say that can help keep friendships together? Well, here's one, Proverbs 10, verse 12. Proverbs 10, verse 12. Proverbs 10, verse 12. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all sins. What does he mean by that? Love covers all sins. He doesn't mean tolerance. He's not saying overlook the worst in people. But love always acts appropriately when there is sin. And anger tends to be off-putting, right? So it doesn't mean he tolerates, but it means he's going to correct it, but he'll use discretion. He's going to use the appropriate level of force with it. Not everything takes a hammer. Sometimes you need a brush to flick things off. A friend will do that for you. And just like in Matthew 18:15, there's some discretion involved where the person will come to you and try to settle the matter to try to preserve your character, your reputation. In Proverbs 10, verse 19, this is other great advice when he says, "In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise." And that means in friendships, you don't always have to say what's on your mind. You don't always have to do that. Restraint is a good thing. Listen. Just listen. And then sometimes, even if you've got to say something, it might be wise to just take a step back, take a moment before you say it, and then season it with a little grace so that it comes out the right way. In Proverbs 15, verse 1, it talks about how that a harsh answer is divisive, right? When he says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." And he does the same thing over in verse 18 when he says, "A wrathful man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger allays contention," right? He sort of dissolves the contentiousness of a situation. Don't act or don't speak in anger, right? Take a few moments and season your words with grace. Keep your anger under control, and that'll help preserve a friendship. In Proverbs 16, verse 7, obviously put God first. God comes first in everything. As faithfulness to God is the true path to conflict resolution. So, if you love God first and you're doing the will of God first, you're going to end up being a good friend because you're going to want to conform to the will of God and be better all the time, and friends need that in each other. Proverbs 18:13, give the benefit of doubt, right? This is one of those chapters dealing with a lot of speech issues, but he says, "He who answers a matter before he hears it, it's a folly and a shame to him." And then in verse 17 of chapter 18, the one to plead his cause first seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. be reasonable when it comes to, something you hear about your friend. If you trust your friend, give him the benefit of doubt, or her. Talk to your friend. Get the truth and try to preserve their character. And then finally, in Proverbs 28:23, always tell the truth. Always tell the truth. And I'll read that one, Proverbs 28, verse 23. He says this: "He who rebukes a man will find more favor afterward than the one that flatters with his tongue." Okay? Your people are going to benefit more by you being a truth teller and a kind truth teller, and they're going to respect you more in the end than a person who just flatters with speech. You're not really helping anybody if you flatter, because you're lying anyway, but you're not helping anybody. And if we do these things and really work on being a good friend and having good friends, our life is going to be blessed for it. And Solomon knew a thing or two about people that were just fake, right? Haters and fake and virtue signalers. In his position and his popularity, he would have known all about that. And he's telling us true friends are those that love God and want you to be the best version of yourself, even if it means pouring a little medicine on a wound sometimes and helping you out. Those are the people you want in your life. Hey, I hope that's helpful. Isn't that a great study? I love Proverbs. Next lesson, Proverbs, we'll talk about alcohol. So let's talk about it. What does he say about it? What are his warnings about it? We're going to be honest with it, because the Bible actually has a lot to say about alcohol. And there are some warnings that if we heeded those, our world would be a whole lot better place. People would be better as a result of that. So let's talk about it next time. Thanks so much for coming back. I'm sorry it's been a while, but it's been a joy to be with you. You're encouraging to me. I hope it's mutual. I hope you're encouraged by our lessons. Please continue to stay tuned. We'll be back the same time next week. Until then, I love you very much. I really do. Appreciate you very much. You're an encouragement, and God loves you even more than I do. So we'll see you then. Bye.